Rebuilding a Stuart Major beam engine, Part 8. Cleaning the edges of the painted cast iron using sandpaper. Making the mahogany parts for the top of the wooden base. Fixing the very strange and badly made slide valve. And painting some of the engine parts. The cast iron on this beam is quite porous, and the paint had soaked in certain areas. But another coat of the Crimson Lake paint will put that right. I basically had two choices. I was going to try and be very clever and fit the mahogany part around the bed plate. I even went as far as to attempt this with a piece of scrap mahogany, by lifting the bed plate, putting a piece of mahogany under the bed plate and drawing round the bed plate. But in the end, common sense prevailed, and I came to the conclusion it was much easier to use a larger, deeper piece of mahogany and sit the bed plate on the mahogany itself, which is firmer than the softwood that the base is made out of. And for this engine, which is not exactly small, the sensible option appears to be cut two pieces of mahogany longer than I need them, so there's enough to go down each side of the base and across each end. I always like to try things in place to see how they look, scale-wise. It's very easy to get something big and clumsy that makes the engine look bad. So I thought 1/8 of an inch thick is about right here. It seems to look the correct size for the bed plate. I spent quite a long time with some sandpaper, rounding the edges. It's very important with things like this not to use sharp edges of mahogany or any kind of wood, because the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to drop something on it which will dint it, or worse, it may splinter and you may get a big splinter in your finger. So once the edges of the mahogany were rounded, I trapped them under the bed plate and I used another piece of mahogany which was slightly less than 1/8 to gauge it so there was a nice overhang all the way round. And then whilst holding the bed plate, I drilled through the holes 3/16 of an inch. I did of course only drill the mahogany 3/16 of an inch, not all the way down. This clip shows me making one of the end pieces. The bed plate is fastened to the wood now, not tightly, just with a couple of locating 2BA bolts. Then I took one of the offcuts of the mahogany, which was already of course rounded, made a mark on it, used a set square to make sure the line was square, and cut it on the bandsaw, and it fits quite well. I did of course have to round the ends of the two longitudinal pieces to match the rounded part of the pieces at each end. Even with the mahogany just placed in position and not varnished or anything, it's looking quite good now. I think I've got the scale just about right. I need to make a decision on what to do about the corners. I did get some brass for this, but it might just look a little bit 1960s, so I will probably use a mahogany theme on the corners, but using thinner mahogany than is round the top. It's time now to have a quick look at the cylinder and the piston. I'm not convinced with this piston. When I first ran this engine, and I actually made a video about it, not the first one of this episode, it's a video about how not to buy steam engines. And when I first ran it, I did notice that the piston was blowing badly, so I may have to do something about this. This engine has sat in my workshop for about 18 months, and I've not really done much with it. I test ran it originally, and I found it to be appalling. There's absolutely no power with the engine, so I think it's time to investigate that further. Before painting the cylinder, I think it's a good idea to look in the valve chest. Here I'm removing the gasket. I assume the T means top. And inside I see a very fancy looking valve. It really looks quite sweet. I've never seen one like this before. So the first port of call, pardon the pun, to find out where the engine's blowing is to have a look at the port face, and that looks alright. And then, oh dear, looking at the valve, this does not look good. What a strange construction. Now I don't have a drawing for this, or I probably do, but I don't know where it is. But this doesn't look right to me at all. I'll take the valve out and have a closer look. This must be the most bizarre slide valve design I've ever seen. I can't see this being like the drawing. Anyway, this piece of metal that holds the valve rod in place is proud of the main slide valve itself, so it's just going to pass air or steam straight from inlet to exhaust, which would explain why there's no power getting to the piston. So the first port of call for a solution is a simple one. Use the existing parts and make them work. I'm using Loctite 542, which is hydraulic sealant, and when I put the pieces together with this stuff, not only does it stick them together, with the help of these small countersunk bolts, it's really going to be a tight and almost permanent fit. It doesn't have the grab of 603, but it is a really good sealant and I use it on boiler fittings all the time. so I know that it will be fine with the temperature in the steam chest. What I need to do first, and most importantly, is make sure that the front face of this slide valve is completely flat. Not like it was before, with the small piece of metal being proud of the valve face and lifting it permanently off the port face. In case you're wondering why the paper is wet, it's not that I'm spitting on it or anything like that. It's a little machine oil. What this does is lubricates the paper and allows it to cut more freely and remove more metal at each pass. If you use the paper dry, it does tend to clog up and after a while doesn't cut quite as well. The purist may be saying, oh, you should be using a surface plate for this, it's not flat enough, but it is really. For what I'm doing here, this piece of brand new birch plywood is quite flat. You could use plate glass. I've actually used old Land Rover windows in the past, they're quite good. But the easiest way is to just get something flat and rub away until you get it perfect, like this. So being in the middle of a massive adrenaline rush after fixing the valve, I thought I'd calm myself down by doing some more painting. I'd already degreased this cylinder using cellulose thinners or lacquer thinners, and it's time to paint it. I'm not too worried that there's bits of paint going on the exhaust port face. This will come off much easier when it's dried. Obviously this is speeded up, I don't normally paint at this speed, and I'm trying really hard not to get any drips. But I want a good coating of paint on the cylinder. Once this has been in steam, this paint will start to bake onto the cylinder and should look quite good. As usual with the rest of the engine, I'm using Precision Paints LMS Crimson Lake Red. As I've said many times before, I get this paint from my friends at Blackgates Engineering. The web address is on screen at the moment, and they do worldwide mail order. I really do like this paint. I find it very durable and very easy to apply. It goes on like a dream, and generally speaking, just before the paint dries, suddenly all the brush marks disappear. This must be some sort of witchcraft. It's time now to paint the steam chest, and as you can see, I'm only painting the centre of the steam chest. I'm leaving the two outer edges plain cast iron. I'm not bothering too much if I get any red paint on there because it'll be very easy to remove once the paint's dried. This is quite a simple job. I'm only showing it to go through the motions. I'm painting the gland housing, but I'm only painting the bottom half of it. I want the top part to be left in cast iron. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.